The Lord of Mysteries MMO is a brand new MMO that just released, and honestly, it has been a lot of fun. The game is far from perfect, but ultimately, this is an MMO experience that you've probably never had. The game launched in mainland China just a couple days ago. It is a free-to-play open-world MMORPG that is based on the massively popular web novel of the same name. Unfortunately, there is no official global version available yet, but they did at some point state that global was definitely in the works and they were expecting to release at some point in 2026. That was the rumor that was going around at the very least. It hit absolutely insane numbers on release day. There were over 1 million players in the first hour, 700,000 concurrent players within the first hour of playing. That is unbelievable. There were so many players that the servers, additional servers, had to be added. It's rare that we see something release to that kind of fanfare in the current MMO landscape. It has a beautiful Victorian theme. It has the pathways instead of classes that were present in the novel. You play as your own created character rather than Klein specifically. It features an enormous open world. At one point, Mrs. Six opened it up and she was taken a little aback because the actual sheer size is, I think, incomparable to any version 1.0 MMO launch. Now, there's a lot of it that's unavailable to actually explore because these are areas that are going to be opened up over time gradually with additional patches, additional updates, and additional expansions. But as of right now, from what we can see, the world and the potential world is unbelievably expansive. It is very evident just looking at the game, looking at the cinematic quality of the game, looking at the cutscenes, looking at the character models, the outfits, everything. The sheer amount of money that went into this game, the budget must have been absolutely crazy. Apparently, according to sources online, it was a 1.2 billion RMB, which equates to almost 180 million US dollars. Yeah, this might just be one of the highest budget MMO releases in a very, very long time, and naturally it came out of China. Before we dive in though, if you're interested in how you can go out playing Lord of Mysteries, if you've ever tried playing a Chinese or a Japanese or a Korean game and you got completely lost because nothing at all is in English, or you're just sick of high ping, random lag spikes, then this right here, this is for you. LagoFast is a game booster plus a gaming VPN that actually does more than just lower your ping. Yeah, it actually routes your connection smarter so you get lower latency and you have more stable games. This is especially useful for overseas servers. But the part that really sold me are the translation tools. They have this really interesting one-click translation tool. It is arguably one of the most useful tools that they have to offer. It can directly replace the game's original text into your local language, allowing you to fully and naturally understand the game without issue. No need at all to swap to other translations or apps. Then there's this nifty little screenshot translator. You just hit a hotkey, you select any part of your screen or the entire thing if you want to, and it just instantly translates all of the text, quests, item descriptions, UI, whatever. It is super clean. They also have an input box translator, so you can just type in English and it converts what you send into the other language for the chat, or the other way around. It makes talking to randoms in global servers way less painful. Basically, what this does is allows for you to access games and servers or versions that you couldn't access on your own. It provides you with lower ping, a more stable connection, plus you can actually understand and play games that aren't fully localized yet. It's been really useful for a lot of the gacha games and the Asian titles that I mess around with. The great part about LagoFast is that you can actually use it for more than just one game. While we're using it for Lord of Mysteries, you can also use it for Ion 2, for Chrono Odyssey, for any upcoming MMO or gacha game or anything. If you want to try it, then I have a sponsored link down in the pinned comment and the description below. You can use my unique code to get a huge discount, so make sure to go ahead and use that. All right, now back to the video. When I looked around online, people were saying, reviewers were saying, news outlets were all claiming that the combat was full, pure manual action, but that's not the case. Now, on the contrary, yeah, it is somewhat action, but it's also not pure action combat. It is a unique amalgamation a type of hybrid action combat. You felt this in other games, other MMOs like Swords of Legends Online, as an example. It is a hybrid third-person semi-action MMO. It has various types of physical weapons. It has various types of guns. It mixes things like revolvers and rifles. There's an actual a reticle with which you can aim your guns. You're actually required to time your abilities, to dodge. A lot of people were making the comparison to Where Winds Meet, and in some instances it definitely is. It has the same outfit gacha that Where Winds Meet has. It has, you know, like a relatively open world like Where Winds Meet. So the monetization is going to be similar, and I think more easily relatable for people that have played Where Winds Meet, but graphically it still feels very different. One is a beautiful wuxia game, and then the other is this beautiful Victorian game. The combat, though, is I don't really think there is a parallel between the combat. Where Winds Meet is pure action combat, like BDO levels of action combat. There are dodges, there are parries, there are counters, but in Lord of Mysteries there isn't. I think that the combat is much less of a focal point, and I think not nearly as fleshed out as a game like Where Winds Meet. Where Winds Meet was ridiculously challenging, and don't get me wrong, Lord of Mysteries also has really cool dungeons and raids later on and lots of PvP, but I think, and it might get incredibly challenging later, because, you know, you can't compare a game in the early stages to like Lord of Mysteries to a game in the later stages like Where Winds Meet. Just like you look at Final Fantasy XIV, and that gets incredibly difficult way down the line. But on a surface level, based off of the content that is currently available, it doesn't seem as difficult, as mechanically challenging, and that's okay. I can't say with any real certainty that the game has or doesn't have pay to win. There are certain things in game that definitely felt pay to advance, because you could essentially and effectively buy them with real money to some extent, whereas you could also earn the currency to purchase these things with through just playing the game. So people could spend money and then acquire things faster. It's pay to advance, pay to progress, rather than pay to win. But then some people correlate pay to win with pay to advance and believe that they are essentially the same thing. So I don't know how you define pay to win or pay to progress or pay to advance, but ultimately, based off of what we saw, it is very much so 100% pay to advance, pay to progress. But I also don't think it's pay to win. It's just pay to get the thing earlier than the free to play player does. The story is, well, we can't actually like fully understand everything that's going on, unless of course you use that translator tool. From what we did see, all the incredible cinematic cutscenes we saw, this is a treat, like a visual spectacle. You do not get MMOs, and I will stress this right now, you do not get MMOs in this day and age that have the cinematic presence that Lord of Mysteries has, that envelops you and that enthralls you and that engages you in the way that Lord of Mysteries does. It doesn't matter if you dislike the combat. It doesn't matter if you dislike the graphical style. The story is impeccable. I'll also point out that there is auto-pathing like in Black Desert Online or Perfect World International, and there's also like the ability to macro abilities. So you can click your ability, the macro, which then lets you utilize a sequence of abilities in succession. So this makes it faster, easier, and to some extent a little more automatic. I don't know if auto-pathing or auto-routing bothers you in MMOs. Like Astelia had it, again Perfect World and Black Desert have it. They're introducing it into Final Fantasy XIV as well, because Asian players, Asian MMO players, just they don't want to actually move their characters manually. They just want their characters to move for them, so they can like play their gacha games on their phone and then just engage in the content once they make it from point A to point B. Graphically, this game is unreal. Like you get into it within 30 seconds, you're like, God damn! And then as you continue to play for multiple days in succession, you're like, this world looks beautiful. Those characters look beautiful. This scenery looks beautiful. This environment looks beautiful. That's the general state you're in this general state of wonder in awe because it just looks so good visually. It, again, like I will stress this, it's a cinematic spectacle, and it provides the unique theme and setting that just isn't really present when you compare it to games like Lost Ark or Throne and Liberty or the upcoming Arc Age Chronicles or the other Arc Age game that's coming, or Chrono Odyssey or any other MMO on the immediate horizon. None of them have that look and feel that this game does. The old Victorian theme and setting, they're all just high fantasy with magic. This game does something different, and I appreciate that. Now, the game's not perfect. Again, there's very strong presence of pay to advance and to some extent pay to win. If you consider pay to advance, pay to win, there is auto pathing. So you don't have to use it, granted, but it is there and present. If that deters you from playing, then that's totally fine too. You can macro your abilities together, which makes it much easier to use. I heard some people calling it a type of auto combat, but I mean, WoW has macros where you can just hit your macro and then you also use your abilities in succession. So I don't consider that auto play. It is a Chinese game at the end of the day, so it's probably going to be grindy. It isn't currently released globally yet. I'm hoping it does release very soon, but I'm happy with the game. Honestly, I think it's a very fun game. I wish it were a PC exclusive. I wish that it launched on a console as well, but it isn't. It's cross-platform compatible between PC and mobile right now. But I mean, welcome to MMOs. Welcome to gacha games. Welcome to the future of gaming. Full cross-platform functionality support. But at the end of the day, we've had fun, and ultimately, when it releases globally, we're gonna play it. I mean, evidently there was a lot of interest. Our live streams at almost 25,000 views so far. I know you think that you just hit the end of the video, and technically, yeah, you have. And I know your first reaction is to close out of it at this juncture, but don't. No, instead, I urge you to take a moment here and click one of the videos on screen that are coming up in just a moment, so you remain up to date with everything going on in the gacha genre. Trust me, you're not going to regret doing so. Stay flaccid.